So what if they want to commit, but they can't afford? What you're offering them? Is there a way this can still go through? So let's say, for example, you're offering them an $8,000 course and they can't afford it. Is there a way we can do a payment plan for them to actually commit to it fully?
Yeah. Now, you have to actually be quite careful with how you go about this, because if you get to the point of people like, yeah, that's a lot of money, I don't know about that. And you're just like, well, you can just pay on a payment plan. Well, what you're actually doing then is you're taking away the value of it, you know, because, you know, quite frankly, people will pay for it up front. It happens all the time. So then for me, it's like, okay, well, how serious are you about this? Is this something you're really serious about? And if someone's there 100% like, yeah, no, I really want to do it, you know, and I can see the passion, they want to do, but the money is just something they don't have. And it's like, okay. So then I'll typically go down the route, well, okay, if this was free or if this was affordable, would you commit now? And if they're like, yes, I would 100%. I'll go, well, why would you do that? And they go, well, because I want to do this, this, this. I want to change this, this, and this. And I can see that if I do this, I'll be able to get to there. And the only thing holding me back is the money.
Yeah.
And then it's okay, well, in this situation, if that is the genuine truth and you want to get started, but the money is the only thing holding you back, it's a case of let's see what you can actually put down.
Yeah.
And then we can work out a payment plan for the rest. Now, obviously, there still has to be a level of commitment, you know, so they're still going to have to put like a couple of thousand down, for example, but then they could pay the rest on a payment plan or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, the reality is, obviously everyone's in different situations, but most people, if they're serious about something, can find a couple of grand to commit to something that's life-changing, you know? So the serious people will find it and they'll do it, you know? So it's really just about finding people, whether they're serious or not.
Yeah. What rejection still hits the most today? And was it due to the amount you could have accumulated or someone who you thought was going to go ahead and bailed out last minute?
You get that all the time. People that you will tell you they're going to go ahead. I mean, I have people all the time that will be like, yeah, send me the payment link, I'm coming on board. I'll send it to them and they just disappear off the screen.
How does that make you feel then? When that happens?
Like, it doesn't really make me feel any type of way.
Okay.
It just, you know, I'm quite good at evaluating people to this point where I know whether someone's genuine or not. And there's a lot of ego in these situations, right? Especially with men, you know, when it comes to putting $5,000 or $8,000 down, a lot of the time it's much easier for them and defending their ego to say, yeah, I'll do it, sweet, not a problem, send me the link, and then they dip, than actually admitting they can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm very aware of that, right? So when it comes to people doing these kind of things, does it affect me? No, not at all. I'm very aware that people aren't always in the position to make that commitment and make that change. Do I take it personally? No. Is it annoying? Sure, it can be a little bit annoying because no one likes people that are being not genuine in front of them, but it's part and parcel of the game, mate. It happens all the time. So, you know, to put a number on something, you know, there's never really been a time that it's really, truly affected me, so to speak. Nothing that I've ever taken to personally.
Yeah, so you mentioned the fact that there's a line between a top closer and a mediocre closer. What skills actually separates a top closer to a mediocre closer? So what skill specifically has made an impact on your close rate? And how did you deliberately develop that?
Listening to people. So I think a lot of people speak more than they should, especially in this industry, you know. People will give you the information you need if you listen enough, you know. So there's certain things that people do. And I say listening, I think more evaluating is what I mean, because you can visually see people as well. So listening and evaluating, paying attention to the other person, because that's your source of information, you know, and that's the problem you're trying to solve. That's, you know what I'm saying. So to give you an example, there's a guy that I was speaking to a while back, and he was business owner, and he was very much like tooting his own trumpet on the call, you know, doing really well. XYZ's going very well for him. And I just kind of cut him and I was like, well, if everything's going so well for you, why are you here? And the first answer he gave me was, well, you know, you can always earn more money, you can always, you know, progress in your finances and stuff. And I was like, well, if I'm being completely frank with you, I don't really buy that, because it's a Saturday, you've taken an hour out of your day to come and speak with me. People don't do that unless they're serious about something, okay?
Yeah.
I don't feel like you're being completely honest if you're telling me that that's the reason, because quite frankly, you've just told me that you're earning X, Y, Z. You know, this isn't necessarily going to change that for you. It's just going to add to the pot. You know, why would that have such significance for you?
Yeah.
And then he was like, I could see his body language change because he realised I weren't going to let him off the hook. And then he was like a big sigh, scratched his head. He was like, I don't really see my family that much. And I was like, right,
There you go.
so that's why he's here,
Yes.
right? Now, previously, I would have probably just taken his first answer and moved past it, okay? But I wouldn't have closed that deal. I wouldn't have, because he's telling himself lies. And if he continues to believe his own lies, which is what people do, he's not going to make a change. You know, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So getting to the truth is such an important thing, because that's where things happen. That's where people change. And that's where people almost have this understanding of the significance of the situation that they're in, you know? And that's when the call completely changed. It changed, flipped on its head. And, you know, this happens time and time again as I'm getting better at it. But just as an example, this guy, he's then like, yeah, well, I don't really get to see my family too much. But then you keep digging. Well, how often do you see your family? He's like, well, maybe a couple of hours a week. How many hours? You know, maybe half an hour in the week each day, if I'm lucky. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, but sometimes the kids are getting to bed. I'm like, well, how old are the kids? You know, so well, they're 2, 4, 7. I'm like, okay. I'm like, how important is it for you to actually spend time with those kids and watch them grow up? And so, well, it's invaluable. It's priceless. Okay. And then it's like, well, let's actually do a calculation. If you're seeing your children for half an hour in the week per day, okay, then that's 2.5 hours you're seeing them in the week. And then like, you see them at the weekend, he's like, no. So that's 2.5 hours a week, right? Then you do the calculations, you know, I haven't got a calculator in my brain, but on the call I will do this. I'll go into actual calculations and I'll explain how much time he's spending with them, how much time that he could be that he's missing. And then you actually read it back to the person. And then they almost have like a moment of realization of, blooming out, like, you know, I'm actually, if I keep going this way, my kids are going to grow up without me really spending any time with them.
Yeah.
And once you get to that point of realization, that the seriousness of what we're talking about is really in front of us now. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, well, how important is it for you to change that? And at this point, it's like, no, it's like, that is the most important thing. Like, nothing else really matters in comparison to that. The guy I was speaking to 10 minutes ago is telling me how fantastic his life is, how he's making so much money, right? After that, you know, I'd been speaking with him for 10 minutes. I knew I'd got enough out of that conversation to make him realise how important it was to change. Pitched him, closed the call, 25 minutes, $8,000, right?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I'll have to take 30, 40 minutes speaking to someone to get to that level of truth, because, you know, it takes, you know, sometimes people open up in different times, but the reality is, it's getting to the truth of why someone's there on the call, because having these truthful, meaningful conversations is what is going to change you and close deals. That's the difference between a top closer and an order taking kind of closer, okay? And the biggest skill that really made me realise that is pay attention to what's in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, quite frankly, I'm not the one that's going to pay the money. They are. So I need to really evaluate them. I'm trying to solve their problem.
Yeah.
So listen